I'm going to be real honest with you guys right off the bat. Don't get it twisted. This is not Bijou.
Everything bothers him.
He's unbothered.
He calls it unbothered, but that's what's cute because everything bothers him. He's bothered. I'm a botherina.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Unbothered by Ty Rivera. That's right, it's Unbothered by Ty Rivera. I'm your host, Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. All right, you know me. I always get paranoid and have to make sure that I'm actually running sound, as they would say. This little girl, her name is Baby Girl because I couldn't come up with a name for her. And I've had her for longer than anybody would guess. But I was so scared because of Bijou passing on that I wanted to make sure she had all her shots and everything like that, because I didn't want it to be an option for me to go through heartbreak with you guys again. I didn't want that, so you guys wouldn't be like, and I litter box trained her, but I was so scared that she was going to get parvo. I never took her outside the whole time that she was waiting to get all her shots. And I know people do, because otherwise, where's the dog going to go potty? But a lot of people have yards and stuff like that. And like a common area and a little dog, when they're puppies, no. I mean, because I hadn't realized, and I'm going to get to the part about Bijou because Bijou gets on my nerves. I'm going to be honest with you guys, and I realized today I'm glad she's dead. Which I don't mean, but at the same time, they say that your last pet is who sends you your next pet. And this little girl is way more headache than Bijou ever was. Bijou lied to me by being the best dog ever and easy to train. And every once in a while, I want to give this little girl the benefit of the doubt and be like, well, me and Bijou had a time where, and it's like, no, we didn't. We didn't have a time. This little girl does not always like me. I know Bijou would be snotty sometimes, but I could always feel that Bijou loved me. With this little girl, she'll be snotty for no damn reason at all. And then she has a bad habit of picking up everything she can pick up. She's always trying to get stuff off the floor or off the ground. And then she hates me because I always have to dig in her mouth, because obviously I'm not going to let her eat anything she shouldn't be eating. But she is quick. She's little and she's annoying and she's quick. And earlier today, she ran out of my apartment, which don't try to get kissy now and have them think that you actually like me, because we know what the deal is around here. You are very, very snotty with me, and I didn't realize this was going to, I didn't realize this was going to turn into a house meeting, but apparently that's what it is, little dog. For anybody that's wondering if she's going to be my new producer, she seems to have a knack for editing, and so I'm going to let her go ahead and edit the videos, but she will not be a producer. She's just too young and irresponsible to actually be in charge of a full production, And earlier when I was setting up, because, right now I had to do everything myself, but earlier when I was setting up, she kept jumping on my hand while I was trying to adjust everything the way that it needed to be as far as the light. And so that was not helpful. And I have a feeling if I put her in any position but editor, she's going to get fired. And I don't want to have to let somebody go this quickly. She's not even out of the probationary period, I don't believe. I'm quite positive. Who knows? Who knows anymore? I have to check with HR and see what my options are, because, she is cute. She is good for the most part, honestly. But she is like a stubborn little thing. She's a stubborn little animal. And sometimes she decides that it's time for me to play with her. And when she decides it's time for me to play with her, she'll yell at me. She slapped me in the face earlier today. I don't remember what I had done to get the slap in the face, but I got a good slap in the face from her earlier today for no, like, I can't even remember what it was. Usually if you get slapped, you're like, oh yeah, I had done that one stupid thing, and then they slapped me. No, this was just one of those, like, just slapped me out of nowhere, no cause. I'm going to put her on the floor, but I have a feeling this is going to be a recipe for disaster as well. She's usually good. We'll see what she does, because she'll get thrown in her room. Hey. All right, so I had made an episode about her not too long ago that I might put. I might post it at some point. I just didn't like the way the sound came out on it. And so it was from about 2 weeks ago that I did a video on her where I mentioned her at the end. But, you know, if I decide to put it out, I decide to put it out. If not, this is baby girl. She's very cute. She is overall very sweet, but she's just very stubborn. And I'm not used to her behavior because of the way that Bijou was. Bijou was so easy. And then Lyndon, you know, I'm going to have to find out about Lyndon because, well, I was talking to D, my friend that has Lyndon, and it doesn't appear he's behaving the best over there right now, and I'm not liking that idea, but I don't feel like I really want Lyndon back until I have a house, because I'll tell you guys the story about Lyndon in case you didn't know. Lyndon was technically just acquired for breeding purposes. That was the idea with Lyndon, and I had planned to give him to somebody else as soon as him and Bijou had puppies, or, you know, Bijou had puppies, because I really wanted Bijou to give me a puppy before she left, and boy did she ever. That's why I say I'm kind of glad that she's gone, because she did me dirty. And I know I wasn't a perfect dad, but I was pretty good. I mean, like, I was good if you ask me. I dropped the ball at the end, you know, like you do sometimes, because me and Bijou had been walking for all the years I had her. And then I got Lyndon. And, you know, since he's a little puppy, me and Bijou weren't able to go for our walks like we used to. And so I dropped the ball in that way, but it's not something I'm going to give myself a hard time about, because life just happens. And also this area wasn't the best for walking. But I decided to get baby girl at a point when my heart was still fully open from Bijou leaving the hole in it, you know? That's really what happened. I think it was 9 days after Bijou was gone that I ended up getting this little dog, and she right away was annoying about, even because, you know, I let her take Bijou's stuff basically, because, you know, what else was I gonna do with all sorts of dog toys and stuff like that. And Bijou never played with anything but Mr. Bill, but I gave her own Mr. Bill. Because, you know, I had a spare for Bijou. Like, I was going to buy more spares for Bijou, but I guess the universe knew what it was I needed. So I had an extra Mr. Bill. And at first I let her play with Bijou's, even the one that was with us when Bijou died, you know, that I wrote the, what's it called on. I don't know. I'm just weird about it in a way that I feel like Bijou really is here teaching her lessons and, you know, showing her the ropes, even though Bijou's only here in spirit. And so I let her have all Bijou's stuff, and I wouldn't let her get into Bijou's, because I had Bijou's shrine set up in the corner over there, and I wouldn't let, and don't worry anybody, if you think this is going to turn out to be like one where I cry or I get like bummed out like that, not that kind of situation. I'm going to tell you that, because I'm really in a good place with where it is right now, even though, like I said, this little girl does get a little weird with me. And like a couple days ago, I literally was like wondering if she actually liked me because she's so resentful of the fact that I literally do have to take things out of her mouth every time we go outside. Because, you know, at first I was super worried about parvo risk. So like I said, I litter box trained her. And I never put her on the ground. I would take her out to the grocery store with me, or she's ran a couple errands with me. I don't put her on the ground. Even then, I have another litter box in the car, a little disposable one in the car that I keep in the trunk. And she's only used it once or twice, but you know, so she's still learning everything. She's still getting to like sniff things and see what's what. And so it's like that balance for me of like not being able to completely keep her off the ground. And I'm not going to. She's going to walk. She's going to be like cool. But also just deal with the fact that she's curious about everything. She wants to eat everything. And that's not something Bijou was ever like. You know, Bijou was always chill about it. But I don't honestly hold it against her that she's not Bijou. I have a good time with it. I joke about it quite a bit, you know. But like I was saying, I even let her have Bijou's like official bed. Cause, you know, I had the shrine over there and she was respecting the shrine. I taught her about the shrine early in her time here. But, you know, so she knew not to mess with the shrine. One time she stole a ball out of the shrine and I called her a grave robber. I literally called her a grave robber. I was like, hey, you little grave robber, you better stay out of. And I don't think she liked the way that felt. So she didn't do any more grave robbing after that, you know, which is cute to me that she really did like leave the shrine alone. She really did respect that. And she's little, you know, and, but, you know, I finally got like, well, we need that space, and Bijou knows her place, and I like gave her a new shrine that's like, you know, just on a set of drawers that I have, and that's got her toys. Now her Mr. Bills will stay hers for the rest of her life because this little girl is so destructive that she started to rip at them, and I was like, okay, that's not why I let you use those. And then that's when I gave her own Mr. Bill, and then I took Bijou's away, and then, you know, but yeah, up until just last week, I had Bijou's shrine sitting there on the floor. And one story I'll tell you that's like will let you know how crazy I am, but also like just the way I see things. She is really humping. That's the first time I've ever seen her hump anything. She got that from Bijou. Apparently Bijou showing her the ropes. She was like, you gotta hump these toys. You can't just. But yeah, one of the stories that I would like to tell really quick just lets you know the way I see things, and you know where I'm at right now with this whole situation is my little puppy. I went to go buy her a harness because I wasn't paying attention, you know, because after you get their last set of parvo, well, you know, their last parvo booster, then you have to wait 2 weeks. And so I didn't buy her a harness at that point because she's growing really fast. And so I didn't want growing really fast. She weighs 5 pounds. Well, 5.6 pounds the last time I weighed her. And she's like, what, 5 months? Let's see. July, August, September, October, November. Yeah, she's 5 months. And so, you know, and she's been with me, I think it was like 9 weeks was what she was when I got her, or maybe something. I'd have to look at it. But either way, she was even tinier than she is now. And she hated being in the carrier. Like, she really went nuts and showed me the animal side of her. And I really hated her when she was doing that because she would scream like a monkey at the same time, like literally scream like a monkey.
Just 5 minutes. This girl is crazy. I never dealt with one this crazy.
And so I had to set up a doggy playpen for her, Bijou's doggy playpen, and I set it up, you know, in a way that was where she could be part of the action when she had to be in there, like she could see me and stuff like that. Um, and she settled into that pretty quick, the doggy playpen. It was just the carrier, which is Bijou's room. I, of course, gave her Bijou's room because, I have all this stuff. So it's like, what am I going to do? Like, make that all Bijou's and it stays in storage and then I buy all new stuff or whatever? That makes no sense to me. Um, and also, like I said, I feel like Bijou is still here in spirit teaching this little dog what she needs to teach her and kind of egging her on to give me a hard time at the same time. I feel like Bijou is putting me through my paces because, like I said, I got her when my heart was still open from Bijou. And so I've been very, very nice and very, very patient with her. Um, Bijou had to learn more on the fly because we were on the road a lot. But Bijou also just was already like the first time I ever put Bijou in a carrier was when she was 6 weeks old. It was the first day we had her. And as soon as I got a carrier for her, I just immediately put her in there, so she could chill by herself. She was tiny, tiny, maybe even smaller than this one was when I got her. And this one was, like maybe a half a pound. I'd have to look for like it was, yeah, she definitely wasn't a pound. She was tiny. And so, with Bijou, though, like I was saying, Bijou just right away went into her room and was great in there and loved kicking it in there. And then I would bring her out plenty and stuff like that. This little dog really went ape shit when I put her in the carrier. And it was so, so annoying. And I looked online, I looked at YouTube, and they said, like, tap the cage or put a little, what's it called, a leash on it, and then jiggle the leash and the noise will distract them and they'll stop barking like that. And she just was a real asshole. And I hated my life because I knew I had to get her used to it. So there was one time where I just had to let her just go for, I think, at least 30 minutes. At one point she went on like just screaming and screaming and screaming, and I was just like, yeah, you just got to get used to being in there because that's a part of the way that you train them, especially once you know well, really, you should start that right as soon as you get them. That's why I was doing that with her. And so it's just, that part of the process, she was not chill about it all. And so that drove me crazy. But then, once I let her scream it out a couple of times, because like I said, there was that time where it was 30 minutes solid. And then she stopped for a little while because I was letting her build up. So when she was quiet, because, first, like when she's quiet for a little bit, I'll go get her. And then, slowly get her used to it is the way that it's supposed to work. But yeah, she was just such a dick. And then, and then after a couple of times like that, she got it and now she's completely chilling there. I'll put her in there and go run on the treadmill and do stuff like that. And, she's great about it. But for a long time, I just had her in the doggy playpen and I had it set up with the litter box next to it. And, cause it's like, if she doesn't have to be uncomfortable, especially when she was that little, I'm not going to make her be uncomfortable on any level. And it was very rare that I was leaving at that time, but, I would leave and go to the gym or, there was one trip where I had to go to San Antonio, which is like an hour away. And total, I was gone probably like 6 or 7 hours. But with her being in the playpen and having the litter box right there, and at first I was doing puppy pads and the litter box, and then I realized she was like, why is there a bathroom on the way to the bathroom? I think I'm just going to go to the closer bathroom. And so she would just potty on the potty pads. And then I decided to take those away because I was like, after maybe a week or something like that, I was like, okay, I'm going to stop doing these potty pads because I think I'm confusing her. And then she had a couple accidents, but she got it pretty quickly, and now she's super good. She doesn't understand that she will go outside, but she doesn't understand that that's what outside is for right now. Like when I take her outside to go potty, she's still sort of like she's getting it more. But there was a minute there where she'd go outside with me and I'd walk her for a little while. And then immediately when we'd get inside, she'd run into her box and go potty. And it was just like, well, then what do you think we're going outside for? But I do walk her out there. So, it's kind of not kind of cool. It's very cool having a little buddy again, because she is, and she, like I said, there was only like 9 days maybe where I didn't have a little puppy, but I don't regret it at all, and I haven't had a moment where I've regretted it. Like I said the other day, I was wondering if she liked me, but it was just because she was being so snotty, and it's like like I was saying, it's like letting her be a dog, so she's got to sniff around. Obviously that has to happen a bit. I don't even take my phone down with me because I just watch her and make sure that she's not putting anything in her mouth, and she tries. She's getting better with leave it though, which that's the command. If you I'm sure there's other dog owners that know leave it, but yeah, you got to teach them leave it so that they'll drop stuff. And she is getting better at dropping things, so that's good. But when she doesn't drop it, I just have to dig in her mouth. That's what it has to be. And, she will try to clench her jaws on me. And I'm not rough with her at all about it, but I will, like, pry her mouth open and reach in there and get whatever's going to kill her. She had diarrhea earlier today, but that might have been my fault. You give them pumpkin when they have diarrhea, but and she's had pumpkin today a couple of times. We'll fix that quick. But it might have been my fault because yesterday a little bit of tripa dropped on the floor, and it was before I put lemon or salt on it or anything like that. And I just left a couple of the, when the piece of tripa fell on the floor when I went to clean it up, I just left that little bit. There was a little bit of like tripa crumbs, which if you're not familiar with tripas, those are cow intestines, and Mexicans eat them, and it's probably the most Mexican thing about me because obviously I'm a coconut, brown on the inside, white on the inside, or brown on the outside, white on the inside, which is what people would call me, even though, for me, I'm just Chicano, which is Mexican American, but a lot of other Mexicans, Latinos, would call me a coconut. But eating tripas is the most Mexican thing about me. Borderline chuntia, I would say, which is from the other side of the border. The ones that are going back. I'm not trying to rub it in, but at the same time. But yeah, so I went ahead and just left that little bit of tripa right there on the floor so that she could eat it as like a treat or whatever, because I have a weird thing with chihuahuas, because I don't know how much chihuahua she is. I think I'm gonna get her DNA tested. The story with her was I in a way didn't want her. I just perused Craigslist because I was like, what if I could find a dog that looked exactly like Bijou, like 100% like Bijou? Because, Bijou was very, in a way, typical looking, but at the same time, I know my Bijou. But, and I was like, so I, of course, looked at Chihuahuas on Craigslist. And, everything was too ridiculous. I'm like, yeah, I don't need to fix this broken heart $900 worth, especially when I got Bijou for $50. I got to be honest with you guys. When it comes to me and dogs, I don't think I would ever buy like a super expensive whatever breed. I just always get Bijou came out of a box, and this little girl was off Craigslist, and I had accidentally asked them if it was the wrong price, which was a lower price than they were looking for, because she was listed for $250. But I sent them a message about her, and because I was like, I'll check this little dog out and see what she's about. And it was 250 that she was, but I've got a terrible memory. So when the girl was talking to me on text, she was like, I was like, it's 200 for her, right? And then she said, right. And then she ghosted me. That I think she had another buyer and she thought maybe I was just wasting her time or whatever, which I might have been. Who knows? I really was just like, I checked on a whim because really I wasn't thinking about getting a dog, but I did wonder how much they wanted for her for some reason. And so, I asked her if it was 200 and then she ghosted me for a day or whatever. And then I looked at the ad again, because I was like, I can't believe she ghosted me. I was like, let me check this out. And I looked at the ad again and then it said 250. And so what happened was she hit me up the following day afterwards, and she was like, hey, if you still want this dog, we still have her. And then I was like, at that point, because she had ghosted me for a day, I was like, maybe I don't want a dog. Maybe I don't need a dog or whatever. And so she hit me up and said that. And then we had a little bit of a back and forth, which of course was pleasant, whatever. It was just, she said she was busy, whatever. And then I asked her a question, like, where the dog, I don't remember what I had asked her, but I had asked her a question back. And so then, and she said, yes, it's 200 or whatever, like that. And then we got like later in the day and she was hitting me up because it was after she had gotten off work. She was like, I'll hit you up after I get off work and then see if you're interested. If you're not, then fine, whatever, that kind of thing. And so then she hit me up after she got off work. And then I was like, yeah, well, I could possibly go get her, but I've got 150 in cash on me right now. I was like, so if you'll take 150, then I'll get her. And really, I was hoping that she would say that she wouldn't take 150, that she just wanted 200, and she was firm on that because I really didn't. I was getting cold feet. I was like, yeah, maybe I don't need a dog. I just need to just mind my business and create content and do all the stuff that I'm supposed to do only. And then the lady said, yeah, I'll take 150. And I was like, damn it. And so then I felt like, I'd be being like a flake or whatever because she already agreed to the 150 and it's like, 10 or 11 at night. It was like 10:50 something or close to that because I remember I had a quick minute to stop at HEB because I was going to get her dog food. And I think they had also run out of money to take care of a puppy and they were at that point where they were going to have to actually buy her new potty pads and buy her food, and they were, she was costing them more than they needed to be spending. That's the feeling I got about it because I asked them, where does she go potty? And they said on potty pads, but, we just ran out. And then so that she could have something to eat overnight, I was like, what kind of food? Or I was like, is there any way you can send me with some of her food so that I can, what's it called? So that I can feed her overnight, and then tomorrow I'll go to the store or whatever. And then they said that they were out of food. They didn't have any more for her, but they've been giving her pedigree puppy. And so, that also made me feel like, okay, these people are not wanting to put any more money into this little doggy. And so that part was kind of annoying. And I also felt like, all right, well, I feel like I'm borderline rescuing this girl now. And so since she's been here with me, I gotta admit, she's had a pretty cushy life. And she does very much take advantage of it. She's got 2 litter boxes. She's got toys everywhere. She's really pimping. It turned out to be a blessing that Bijou didn't play with all those toys because this little girl plays with every single one of the toys. But yeah, so I hate Bijou because this little dog is like not a good person, because like I said, I've been being as patient and nice as with her as I possibly can, and then like every once in a while she'll act like she just completely doesn't like me, and it's very, very annoying, and I know I don't deserve it. So I feel like if she's not careful, she's going to create a toxic dynamic. Just playing. She does seem to like. I took her to the dog park for the first time. That's what made us bonded, to tell you the truth, because I literally was feeling like that, and it was only for like a week where I was feeling like she really didn't like me, and so I was like, let me take her to the dog park and see if I give her a little bit of freedom, if we get to like mix with the other dogs, because she's very friendly with people and dogs. Like, she is very social, I can tell, or wants to be very social. And so I took her to the dog park, and she's so tiny that she was intimidated by the dogs because there were bigger dogs there. And I got a little bit nervous too because she is so tiny. And so I kept her on the leash. Also, I don't trust her like running without a leash right now. I don't feel like she is responding to me enough where I can trust her like that. She will dart, and I know I could eventually get her back, but who knows if she tried to run in the street or whatever. This is not like Bijou. Bijou was very like got it right away. But like I said, we were also on the road, so I think it forced Bijou to like really bond with me and trust me that way and listen to me, because we were always in places that she didn't recognize, because we just had to go from one spot to the next. Especially at the beginning when I first got Bijou, she was very rarely able to actually be at home. I just had her with me, and we went on the road quite a bit. It was me, her, and Chris Rubio. And Chris Rubio, who used to open for me, he's still doing comedy. He's got a YouTube channel. I think it's just his name, Chris Rubio, KrisRubio. But he really helped me a lot with Bijou because he has two dogs, and so he helped me train Bijou in the beginning, which was also helpful, when we'd be on the road with Bijou. And like I said, I had Bijou everywhere, so she right away bonded with me. That might be part of what the thing is with this dog, is since I always have her stationary in the same place, she knows that this is her home, and so she doesn't feel like she really has to listen to me sometimes. But like I said, overall she is good. It's not like she's just completely, and I did let her off leash for a little while we were at the dog park. But it was after I let her really get used to the other dogs, and she was feeling confident and stuff like that. But yeah, she a couple of times had to come to me, because she got a little overwhelmed, and of course I pick her up, or I pet her, I make her feel better, and so I think that made her feel closer to me, because we've been good. Like last night and today, she's being very good, and she we'll go back to the park probably in a week or something like that. I'll give her a little while to kind of take everything in and be like, okay, what would I do different next time I'm at the dog park? I'm gonna play with the dogs, because even though she's tiny, I have to watch her and make sure that it's good dogs. But in Austin, a lot of people really, really put a lot of time into their dogs and train them. And so it's if she goes out there behaving at the park the way that she needs to, their dogs will behave the way that they're supposed to too, so it's that kind of situation. Good puppy. She just went potty in her, what's it called? Puppy, let me finish recording and then I'll hook you up. I'm always good for it. Because that's one thing. She does get a treat every time she goes potty. But right now I'm recording. So she seems to be good about understanding that I record, though. Well, I've let her be out once, and then I had to do all sorts of crazy angles. Because I really, really didn't want to talk about her, because I was worried that something tragic would happen. I was like, what if she just dies on me? Because I'm not good with plants, And I was so proud of myself because Bijou, I used to pride myself on the fact that I had been able to keep Bijou alive. Like, I really was, proud of that for myself. And so I didn't, I was like, what if this girl doesn't make it? What if I don't have the touch like I thought I did? Bijou was just, great at being Bijou. But, but this little dog seems to be thriving. I will tell you that, even though, like I said, she's pretty annoying. But, life is really, really good right now. And I know that I was crying a couple episodes ago, and I don't care about any of that way. I'm to the age, and I don't mean this in a bad way at all, but I am to the age where I feel like showing all sides of me is important, especially when it comes to YouTube, because sometimes it seems like I have really hard opinions on stuff, and sometimes I do. There are things that I really, really feel and really, really mean. And so if you just saw that side of me only, I think that it would have a lot of people think that I'm really heartless. And I don't mean to be that way, but I think in certain situations you do have to be, And so that's why I don't mind showing this side of me too, because in certain situations you have to be that too. Like when I'm crying, certain situations you have to be that, like when things are like that for you, and it's very healthy to let it go. And I never plan to cry on my podcast, obviously. Technically I wish I didn't, in the way that because you don't usually want to just let yourself go, and especially in front of people. And it's not like my podcast get a whole lot of views, but it'll get 3,000 or something like that, and that's a lot of people seeing you be very vulnerable. But I don't really mind it as much, just because one, it's a part of life, and two, I think it's important, for people to, like I said, see the more human side of me, and not just the opinions, because you do have to be strong on certain opinions right now, especially if you're a person like me, because I'm very honest about the fact that I am a gay man, and which obviously I'm not trying to say oh, you would never would have known, but also if you lie to people about that, they'll love it, because they would rather you not be gay and accept you. Or now it's not like that as much, but for a lot of years it was like that. And to a certain degree, in certain age ranges, it is still somewhat like that. I, when I'm in the world, have a varied range that I'm around. So I deal with all of it, and it's all great, as far as I go. So it's not like I'm, trying to, make it seem like it's some kind of sob story or whatever, being gay or being LGBT. But when you're a person like me, it is a little bit more complicated, because I am very dedicated to women and also trans people at the same time. And so, and I know that there's an easy compromise there, because real trans people, which I'm always stressing, and not to harp on that stuff, but it's just for right now, that stuff is important, especially in my life in particular, just because with the way that laws get enacted, it's it's easier to stop something from happening than it is to have it reversed once it does happen. And that's the dire part that I don't think a lot of people are really getting when it comes to the LGBTQ conundrum, and it is a conundrum, that part, because it's yeah, there are reasons that trans people need access to certain spaces that are as minimally invasive as possible. But then at the same time, there's the fakes that are trying to force their way into anything and even places that if you're a logical person that you shouldn't be, and any logical trans person would be like, yeah, I would never want to go there anyway. That would not be my intention or whatever. And so, and then at the same time trying to not like cause panic, because I try not to use my platform and my words to be like, like fear monger in any way. And on either side, because I don't want trans people to feel like, okay, your back's against the wall. You gotta, like, I don't want to set up that dynamic. And then I also don't want to be like, women, you really got to watch your backs right now, because it is a low. I don't want to say this in the wrong way, because believe me, I'm not like, for me, in these instances, one is too many. So it's not like happening at the frequency that it could be happening at, where you should cause panic, or, where you should tell people like, hey, this is a real thing. Because it is a real thing. But, it's still on the novelty side in a way. And I don't mean to trivialize anything when I say that. And I hope you guys are understanding what it is I'm trying to get at here. Because it is more jokey looking, and where you're just sort of like, okay, that person shouldn't be in a bathroom or whatever. But there have been a few instances that have been enough of a cause for alarm that that is to be taken seriously as well. And that's why in those instances, I will try to encourage both the trans women that know that they're actual transsexuals and really dealing with gender dysphoria, and the real women to be able to like band together and just push out the ones that are just doing it for the novelty. And then once you get rid of the novelty, you also get rid of the serious perv that looks like a novelty. Because that's what I'm trying to get at, is that's the guys that these people that are predatory come in under, is they're one of the ones that just like, oh, I haven't figured out how to be a woman yet, or that kind of thing, which I'm not trying to be insulting again and say like, oh, you can figure out how to be a woman. But you know what I'm saying? If you're a person that knows actual trans people, like, it's like they want to move and not cause any waves, and they wait until they get to that point before they even think about breaching a women's bathroom, because it's not something they want to advertise, and they would be absolutely mortified if they were the subject of having to be removed from the bathroom or even be called out. Like, that's the way a real trans person the way their brain works in a lot of cases when it comes to this kind of thing. I mean, like, unless somebody's trying to be insulting and they're what they are and they just got clocked, which I've never seen that really happen like that, to tell you the truth. But I could see how it would, like, cause that kind of situation, because it would be like, who that's, and that's the other thing I warn people about, because I've known some really manly looking women in my time. And I mean, I don't think people understand the level of manly looking woman I've seen, but I'm sure you guys have met that kind too. But there were just a few where it's funny, because the really manly ones I've known were from my super young years, so my whole family knows them too, or knew of them, because it was either somebody my sisters went to school with or one of my sister's friends, like that kind of thing. And because what makes me laugh about it is we would sometimes because like more than one of them got pregnant, like in the time that we knew them. And it was like us being like, well, now we know for sure. Because literally we would be like, do you think she's a man and she just doesn't tell us? Or, she's just not comfortable saying it. and then they got pregnant, and it wasn't like, Beyonce pregnant where it's like you're not able to be close to them and they could have a like pad under or whatever Beyonce was accused of, which I'm not trying to start that rumor or feed into it, but it's just a common one that people say that she faked her pregnancy, or one of her pregnancies. Does she have, no, she just has the one kid, right? Blue Ivy? I think so. But yeah, so they say that she faked her pregnancy. It's Kim Kardashian that has all the kids, like she's on welfare, which, okay. Well, no edits. I swear I'm such a, but I don't think anybody should ever be surprised to hear anything I say, because like the only reason I don't really go all the way that I would talk just in regular life, or the way you'll hear me talk at a comedy show, is because YouTube doesn't allow it, but I know within full context and people hearing me talk, nobody would ever get the wrong idea about what it is I'm saying unless they were just trying to be difficult. And that's why I won't deal with that on YouTube. Like when people hit me up and try to even lightweight go at me like I'm being hateful in my YouTube videos or the way that I'm saying things, it's like, no, I'm not dealing with that, because like I know that as much as I possibly can and still be me, I really do try to, like you heard me when I was just trying to explain that situation and say things the right way. If I'm obviously making a video, I can edit it and make it the way that I need it to be, and take out the parts that, because, I'll just keep like working it like so that it sounds the way that I need it to sound, so that it's, like I said, not causing panic, not hateful, not disrespectful, not dismissive. Like there's a lot of ways that I really do have to look at it, and it's not at all for political correctness. It doesn't come from a disingenuous place at all. It really does come from a place of me trying to figure out the best way to say things so that I can convey everything on the proper note. Because everybody's concerns, except for the fakers and the, the pervs, are valid, like when women say that these places should not be at all, and then when trans people are like, okay, but these places, it's like you would never notice me and I'm not doing anything wrong. So it's like, there are valid concerns on both sides, which I tried to say that on X one time, and they were just like, you just don't care about women's safety and whatever else. And it's like, yeah, I wouldn't think about it as much as I did if I didn't care about women's safety. If I didn't care about, and then I've had the trans people do the same thing with me, where they, like, trans people have canceled me 5 times. So when people talk to me like I'm trying to be an SJW or a trans rights activist, I am like, I am not even, they wouldn't accept me if I wanted to be one of them at this point, because I have said so many things, and directly to the activists and the ones that think they're important, the people that ran gay pride in Las Vegas. And I really have run against the community in that way. So it's like, I wish I was some of the things people said. Like somebody referred to me as a grifter, and I was like, if I were a grifter, and because, I didn't really respond to them at all. I think I said something like dumb, because it's like the things that they said to say that I was a grifter, and I left your comment. I didn't erase it. It's on YouTube. You'd have to search through it. It's the most recent video, though. It was on when I mentioned the normal gays in the Donald Trump video. Donald Trump and his anti-trans thing. But yeah, where they said, like, basically I'm a sellout because I considered myself a normal gay. And what I was really trying to say with that is things have gotten so out of whack on the left, and that, like, trans rights activist type thing, that it's made it seem like I'm a normal guy. And it was really more of a way of saying, like, look at how much you guys have messed up to turn me into a regular guy, and beyond that, conservative? Like, that's what I would be considered in this world? when I've had trans friends for the last 30 years, and believe me, I haven't turned on them. We're not any kind of, and most trans people, like if you ever pay attention to the comments, that's something I'm proud of too, is a lot of trans people will hit me up and back me up in the comments and say the things, I'm a trans woman and I would never want to make women uncomfortable, like things like that. I'm a trans woman and I know I have no business in women's sports. And these people aren't saying this to be submissive, and the things I say aren't to be submissive either, or to try to kowtow. It's just, these are just common sense things that I thought we all knew, that these trans people also thought we all knew. And even though I don't know them, I know their type. And when I say I know their type, I mean I know the logical, level-headed trans person that really is just going through a situation. Just like I know really cool women that don't care about certain things unless you're being a creep. The majority of women are like that. So when I get attacked from the extremes on both sides, because the TERFs have gotten mad at me and the trans activists have gotten mad at me. And I always tell people, you need to understand, when I use the term TERF, I mean people that self-identify as TERFs, not I call them TERFs. I've never called anybody a TERF in order to insult them in my life, because I just don't use that terminology. The people that use that terminology were trans rights activists, and technically I always thought I was on the side of TERFs. It's only when the people that really, or I always thought I was on the side of people that they just called TERFs, because it is like a slur. Like if a trans person doesn't appreciate something that a straight woman says, then she'll refer to her as a TERF, and as an insult, she'll brand her with that. But there are people that actually identify as TERFs. And just like I identify as the F word that, we're not allowed to say on YouTube that rhymes with bag. And so, so it's like if somebody were to refer to me that way, and not in a derogatory way, but just in the way that they're addressing, the guy that, says, because I've had people say that in restaurants, well, especially when I was first starting out, because I did a whole thing about, being an F slur. And it was my bit. And these people had never seen me before, they just saw me at a comedy show. And then one day I was in this diner hanging out with my friends and they were like, hey, the F word. Cause I was, like I said, newer and they had never seen me before. So it was that's all they knew me by was that bit. And I was people were looking kind of mortified or whatever. We were in LA. But people were looking kind of mortified, but right away I was like, hey, and we shook hands and said hi and that kind of thing, but, so what I'm saying is if somebody were to refer to me as the guy that refers to himself as the F slur or whatever like that, I wouldn't at all get offended about that. Just like I would never call anybody a TERF that doesn't identify as a TERF. So that's why I say I thought that I was supportive of what TERFs were. But then when they attacked me because they didn't like the way I said something that to me was really meant to unify, it really was meant to say, hey, maybe you guys should work together to get rid of the creeps and the looky-loos, for lack of a better term, or the fakers or whatever they're doing, because those people really just should. If you're choosing to be non-binary, you're basically choosing to be androgynous, and so you just go to the appropriate bathroom that matches up with your parts and stop trying to make it a whole thing. You're literally messing it up for certain people. And I do feel like even though, there should be no, no what could be considered actual hate, but just being firm with them, almost like children, just being like, no, you don't go here. This is not for you. I'm sorry. I get it. You call yourself non-binary. You consider that to be on the trans spectrum. So you're on the trans spectrum. You're under the umbrella. Let's say you lean towards whatever your parts dictate. Because trans men, who are technically women, know not to run up in the men's bathroom sooner than they should. That's not gonna they at best they'll get kind of shamed out. I feel like bullying or the potential for bullying is what stops a lot of trans men from like just doing what they want to do in some cases, because the trans men don't act up like the trans women do, or the not even I said trans women, because the people that want to identify as women that or on the spectrum of women, that's the part. It's like, come on, just stop being stupid for a minute, and so I I feel like that's what it's the time for. Like I said, not panic, but just everybody from all sides just being as honest with these people as possible in the way of, no, this isn't for you. Please stop playing here. You can play in the other areas like Gen Pop. When you're in general population, you do whatever you want, when you're out. But once you get to the spaces that are gendered, then you go to the one that coincides with your body parts. That's what it is, And then when it comes to some of the turf types, they need to be a little less, you're either with us or against us, because that's what ruined it for the trans rights activists, because there were a lot of people that were very much in support of trans people if you even go back as recent as like 6 or 7 years. And then they started getting very entitled, and it really wasn't about the fact that they're trans that everybody put their foot down. It was more of a thing like, I don't care what you are, how you identify. You are not going to just tell me what I'm going to think and what I'm going to accept and the way that I'm going to behave and the way that I'm going to talk. And that's what I tried to warn some of the TERFs about. The same way I'll be with the trans rights activists and be like, hey, you're making trans people, and more specifically trans women, look bad right now because of what you're doing. That's the same way I'll be with the TERFs and be like, hey, some people are going to get confused and think because you're the loudest, you really are speaking for women, and they're going to get turned off with the tactics that women are pulling. Just like with guys, sometimes I have to be like that too, except for guys right now, really, I think they're coming out of that red pill type thing, which was the Andrew Tate and all of that, and they're really finding a more comfortable, and it's because they kind of had to, because like guys have had it, and I know people are going to get mad at this, but in that way, as far as just being considered an enemy, guys, especially white guys, have had to go through a lot just in the way of really being a scapegoat for every sin of their fathers. Because it is deserved in that way, not deserved in that way. Don't let me watch my phrasing on that too. White men were not the best behaved. And a lot of these younger generation just have the misfortune of looking similar to people who didn't behave, but because they were raised, by Gen X, which was more open, they came in a lot more like puppies and wanted to be nice to more people, but people were abusive with them just because they looked like a different version of what they actually are. And so people have been very abusive, or society in the United States. I'm not going to speak for anywhere else, but this city I'm very literate in, or this city. See, you can't sound smart when you refer to a country as a city, but this country, that's how literate I am in this country, as I truly do speak to the stupidity of the United States. But I mean that in a good way too, because like, yeah, we're dumb, but we do have it figured out better than almost anywhere else. So for everybody to always be talking about how stupid Americans are, we seem to be kind of leading the race. So yeah, I take pride in being stupid enough to be a part of the change that's happening in the best country in the entire world, because all of these changes are going to be good. And it is like a lot of like just having, okay, this overcorrected, it's almost like, to me, what's going on in the country is like, if like people are good conductors, like the people, and I don't mean the president. I'm not at all thinking about Donald Trump right now, so don't like hit me in the comments with, how could you vote for, I'm not wearing the hat. Don't treat me like I'm wearing the hat right now. I'm just being a regular human being. But I feel like if the more sane from each group of people, and I do mean like actual citizens, regular people, not looking to the politicians, not, yeah, that's great if they want to join in or whatever, but like not talking about the influencers, even though them too, if they want to use their influence to actually do something good. Like, that's why I do ride hard for Blair White and Buck Angel and that kind of, because there are people out there that are really trying to be a voice of sanity. But if that can really influence other people to do things in a way that is not hateful, but at the same time firm, and I mean this to everybody, because there's a lot of people from every group, or some people from every group, fucking up, and they're always the loudest, and that's what makes the rest of us think that we're all fighting with each other. Really, we're not fighting with each other. It's these loud assholes that speak for each of us, or each group of us, that is fighting with each other and making it look like we're fighting with each other. And then sometimes we take too hard of a stances because we do think that that's the entire group talking to us, because we don't know people personally from that group. So that's the only idea we have of these particular groups. And so we go with that prejudice that we all have once we've actually been given a reason to have a prejudice by seeing these people speak for other groups that we may not have contact with. And the only reason that I notice this the way that I do is because I do have a big group of a lot of different people that I really, if by cancel standards, I shouldn't talk to the different people that I talk to, because it's like, this person that I know wouldn't like this person that I know. This person that I know wouldn't appreciate that this person that I know said this particular thing, even on social media, or does this particular joke. And, but everybody that I know also is pretty balanced. And so they don't hate each other. It's not like I couldn't have them in the same room together, And so I even though I have a group that you would look at and think shouldn't work out on paper, or being friends or whatever, I know that I could have all of my friends in the same room, especially for like a birthday or something like that for me. And it wouldn't be tense. It wouldn't be weird. Everybody would just be like chill. And that's the way a lot of the world is. They just don't know it because they're getting ideas of what each other is through social media and the extremists that do speak for everybody. And so I hope that makes sense and gives people a better idea of, like, why I do things the way that I do them and say things the way that I say them. And like I said the other day, when I got called a grifter, I was just like, yeah, if I were grifting, I would just take one side and really just hammer that home. I'm just 100%, and I'd have to pick one. Like, I'd have to go like just 100% women and not be cool with trans people at all. Like, completely disrespect the trans community and disavow. And I should, by the way that the trans activists have treated me in my time. Because I've been canceled 5 times. 3 of them were the trans community. And when you are at my level and you're working your way up, as even if you don't identify as a gay comic, you are a gay comic, and you have the gay machine work against you, when you get canceled like that, you really get canceled. It's not like the glamorous kind of getting canceled where it's like, oh, next week I'll be on Joe Rogan, or which Shane didn't get on. That would seem like I was like shading Shane. I would never shade Shane Gillis, and it's not for obviously for political reasons. I don't care. I don't know if you guys have noticed. I'll burn a bridge. But Shane Gillis is just a good guy and a nice guy and a funny guy and a hard-working comedian and somebody that I really do respect, even though I don't know him really well. So I didn't mean it to come off that way. But Shane was able to spin that into like being something, and it took him like 2 years or whatever. But when it's the LGBT community and you're gay and it happens 3 times, they really do just hurt you as far as what you're able to get in the mainstream industry. Because being as funny as I am, and this isn't me being full of myself, but literally being as funny as I am, because you notice that people will talk shit about me, like exposing too much, or like, not always being the easiest to get along with, which technically I am very easy to get along with. It's just some people are stupid and they're used to pulling fuck shit, and I will stop it. But like, okay, let's say all the things that they say are true about me. You notice nobody ever says that I'm not funny. Nobody ever claims that. I am very good at what I do. And so if I had been allowed to grow, and I didn't need the gay community to sponsor me or to help me out, but just not to try to hinder me within the industry. And keep in mind, I was in LA for 14 years. So when you're in LA and you're coming up and you're gay and you have the gay machine against you, it really does. So now that because, if you don't notice, the gay machine is not working out well. It's not. They are gasping right now, whether or not they want to acknowledge that. And that includes like the mainstream gay machine. That's why Anderson Cooper is wondering what it takes to be a normal gay, But when it's that kind of situation, then if you're in my position now, when they're at their weakest, the trans activists who really came after me, they tried to cancel me straight out of COVID. Like, we weren't even able to make money for a while there, and I finally got a chance to make some money, and they tried to cancel me during COVID. And that one, I gotta admit, I ate that one up. Like, I really did. I taught them a lesson that time, and it was the whole Las Vegas game machine at that point. But I was used to the LA game machine, so I'm used to the big leagues and Starry, but the Las Vegas gay scene just couldn't handle it. I handled them on the internet. I did the show that they were trying to get me canceled from. I shit on them during the show. I did every joke they wanted me not to do. That one was, actually fun to be able to handle that way. But right now, while they're at their weakest, if I was a petty person, if I was truly being a hateful person, then I would just go 100% the way of the women and be like, yeah, trans people are freaks and none of them belong anywhere in any space that's not of their designated gender, and they should have to dress like normal people. And I would really go that way, and I would use words like that, where I would just be very like matter of fact, if that's what I was trying to do. And then women get that way with me too, like the TERFs, they'll like accuse me of being a misogynist, and if I don't like you, I don't care if you're a woman or whatever. I would not put my hands on you, but if we're just having a war of words, you're like anybody else. There's no physical advantage to words, and I'm not going to pretend that, I'm too politically correct to say things the way that I just say them, but also if you never approach it with me, if you never say anything to me, I would never approach you, you know what I mean? You're a woman. And so it's not like I'm going to go confront you or whatever, like you would really have to come to me and I'd just be like, yeah, you're stupid. I think you're a stupid person and please leave me alone. Like, why are you over here? You don't like me. And, and so online, when TERFs try to shit on me and then I shit on them back and they're like, well, aren't you misogynistic? And it's like, no, I'm equal opportunity by definition. That's what I am. You try to cuss me out and because, I usually don't go the blunt route as far as like, calling somebody a stupid bitch like that. I'll usually just be really catty and like choosy with my words, and if I tell somebody to make a sandwich and they consider themselves a feminist, to me that's better than calling you a stupid bitch. You know what I mean? Because it's just like I am honestly saying that I think you are the reason that these stereotypes about women exist. And I know a lot of women that are not that. You just are. And that's why you're always trying to call everybody misogynistic, because you really are a dumb woman. You really shouldn't be allowed to vote. All the other women should. And when people say that about gay, I wouldn't get offended at all if somebody was like, yeah, it's the kind of gay guy that just is disrespectful and makes people think they don't like gay people. I'd be like, I know the type. I know exactly the type. But, that's one of the things people don't really want to face. Is that no matter what group you're from, there is a type, and that's what all of us really need to check, is our own. The ones that are like, because it's the hardest one to stand up to, because they'll try to ostracize you. But I think as they ostracize you, the groupthink ones, all the smart ones will be pushed out and forced to form their own group that isn't really a group. It's just people with common sense. And then that will start being basically ambassadors to the other people that are sane from the other groups. And that's how we'll push out the dummies. Stay unbothered.